Okay. Hi everyone. I am Koichi Fujino, and I'm glad to have an interview with Union County Heritage Houses Museum Director and Curator, Ms. Jill Smith. Thank you very much for your coming today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is the place of the William Faulkner's, very near to the William Faulkner's birthplace. And this is also a kind of the center of this community, I think.
It is.
So, could you introduce yourself and could you introduce this museum to the audience?
My name is Jill Smith, and I'm the director and curator at Union County Heritage Museum. And where the room we're in today is the William Faulkner Library, and we have about 2.5 city blocks of exhibits and outdoor areas. We have the Faulkner Literary Garden and a lot of other Faulkner-related exhibits in New Albany, Mississippi.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you have any concept about what kind of the relationship you are trying to have with William Faulkner and this museum?
Yes, one of our missions is to interpret Faulkner in relationship to the rural culture that he was born into here in his postage stamp of native soil of New Albany. What it was like to live here at that time. We have the outdoor exhibit area with the country store, we have the doctor's office, we have the barn, we have that rural culture exhibit field that you can walk into. We have the literary garden that you can actually experience the odor of verbena if you're here in April, May, June.
That's right.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed your equipment and some kind of the houses you actually built it around here, and they are keeping the very good old southern atmosphere and all things. And also I've realized that some kind of the William Faulkner's characters, how they are living in their houses and how they are doing their own, some a kind of much more early days life, in the South area, So I think that, the William Faulkner was born in some kind of the small houses near here, 2 blocks away from here, and I found that place is a little more not so much decent, the house. It's a kind of a very ordinary, small, some kind of from our Japanese people are terming a kind of the very ordinary house.
Right.
It
was.
It was. Why William Faulkner's father is living in such a kind of the house near here?
Well, at that time, he was that area was in a period of growth because of the coming of the railroads. And of course, he was a clerk on the railroad, the Ripley Railroad, and then it became the Gulf Mobile in Ohio. It had several name changes, but that's why they were here when Faulkner was born. And this house, the birth site, is located about 3 blocks from where he would walk to work every day.
Yeah.
So you're in a newly developed area, a little subdivision, a little frame house, and it was kind of a simpler time.
Yeah, a kind of maybe we can call him a kind of the blue collar worker over there. Might be.
Yeah, it would be probably a little in between the blue collar and the white collar because
that's right.
This community was extremely excited when the railroads came, and you see this burst of economic development here.
Yes. And I hear that he loves the railroads so much, you know? William Faulkner's father.
He did.
Yes, actually. So for me, it is very interesting because William Faulkner's great-grandfather was a kind of the entrepreneur, and finally he became a kind of the very rich and famous person in his own community,
He did.
And also his grandfather, he was a kind of the banker, in a way, a kind of maybe rich person.
Right. They had evolved on into a I guess, a higher standard of living.
Right, exactly. But suddenly, William Faulkner's father is actually a little more ordinary person among the people around here. So it's a very interesting, and I'm actually cannot imagine what kind of the things happened to him. But I now really a little more get some images about his own life around here. It's a very nice place to visit here and going around and realizing, oh, this is the place of the railroad, and oh, this is the place where we are looking at the railroads are going upside down, and this is the center of the this area's business and all things. So how you are feeling about the railroad and its relationship with the people?
Yeah, it was a very important piece of this puzzle. New Albany was burned during the Civil War.
Right. Yeah.
It was burned to keep the troops and the people busy here so that they couldn't go down the Tallahatchie River to help Vicksburg. The Tallahatchie River would have carried them into the Mississippi River, and they could have helped the Battle of Vicksburg. But so they had to burn these towns to keep these people from going to help that siege of Vicksburg. And so there was just devastation, economic devastation here. And even though Faulkner, the great-grandfather, started building these railroads in 1871, it didn't make it to New Albany. He couldn't get the money, and there was all these difficulties, but he finally made it in 1886. And that's when those two lines, the east-west and the north-south, crossed here.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how much excitement there was in this community.
Yeah.
And then that's why Faulkner was born here. And,
that's right. Yes, I think that it's a very, very a kind of in a way, a genius. Genius idea. For the people to do such a kind of the very early stages entrepreneur things in that time, and it's actually the start point of the development of this area.
It is.
So it is very nice, and actually, and also this. The museum have rich resources for the Faulkner studies, and you have Faulkner's books here, and I think that you are also a kind of the specialist about William Faulkner, and I would like to just ask some kind of the personal question about you. Which novel do you love? About the William Faulkner. Which one might be the best for you?
The books.
The books.
Well, I love Light in August.
Light in August.
I really do. My mother was in a book club, and when I was in about the 9th grade, she got these three books: As I Lay Dying, Light in August, and Sanctuary. And I was probably in about the 9th grade, and I had no idea who William Faulkner was. I had no idea he was a Nobel Prize winner. And I read those three books that summer, and I really enjoyed Light in August. I didn't really understand As I Lay Dying at that time. I had to reread it as I grew older and that's genius, It really is. But Lena Grove walking through North Mississippi, that was just, I enjoyed that.
Wow. It's a very happy coincidence that I've read the Light in August as William Faulkner's first book for me, and I love that and decided to write about that for my graduation
So
thesis.
which is your favorite?
Yeah.
Which of his books is your favorite?
My favorite might be the later part works, and my favorite is The Mansion is the best, but in the early stage of my book history, I love the Unvanquished.
I love that one too.
I love actually the As I Lay Dying also. It's very good for me to read.
It is, now that I read it from a different perspective, and I didn't quite understand the style in those early days, but when I read The Unvanquished, I felt like that those were people that I had that was the culture I grew up in, even though I didn't grow up in the Civil War era, but But then when you think about when he introduces the Snopes, I feel like I probably went to school with some of the Snopes,
Yeah, right.
growing up here.
Yeah, but the Snopes is a very complicated, the persons, appears. So it's very difficult for me to understand. But if when you grown up, and read it again in Faulkner, Snopes, maybe you can understand, and you will be a little more feeling some familiarity with them. Grown up and many things. What is the world it is?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Well, back to what you were talking about Murray Faulkner's father, having a more blue collar, attitude, I guess. You think back to he grew up in one of the wealthier families of Ripley, Mississippi, which is where he took his family after they left New Albany, and they went to Ripley, and then they went to Oxford, and they were he was like that son. I don't know whether you call him a black sheep, but he just wasn't interested in building a railroad. He wanted to work on it. He wanted to be a clerk, and he seemed to want to be more in touch with the larger group of folks than just the white collar social,
much more a kind of the material development of he want to be committed with that.
He seemed to be more in tune with that from my perspective, but he still did come from that wealthier family group that Faulkner writes about the decline of that Southern culture, and I think his family was part of that slow decline.
That's right, yes. So a kind of the very slow declining, in a way, but at the same time, it means that the people, what kind of the ordinary people are feeling, the happiness or some kind of sadness they are among.
Right, the people that you're going to hang out at the hunting camps with. And
hunting camps.
They were, hunting was a big cultural, and still is a big cultural it's activity, I guess, that all levels of culture come together at the hunting camps.
Hunting camps, all hunting camps is a kind of the gathering of the people.
It is. They would go down to the delta or to the river bottom here, and they would have these big hunting camps, and they would go there and
hunting camps. Right.
Yeah, they would be hunting bear, deer,
right.
Squirrel.
That's right. Yeah, that's a favorite of the Faulkner.
It is.
He is always mingling with some kind of the many people in there.
Yeah, you see that in the bear.
Oh,
and the big woods.
Yeah, I love that. The Go Down Moses is my favorite one also.
But yeah, that's a very true depiction of life here.
That's right. Yes, it's very, very realistic and very humorous.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your interview today.
Thank you. Glad you came.
Yeah.